guys, welcome to another day with me, Zimaleta. Today I would like to test this headlight turn signal type of unit here, kind of like electronic switch. This is the unit that's in question, and last time I actually connected this unit, it made my van not start. Like it was acting as if my battery was completely dead. Like it just like made my lights flicker on the dash. It looked everything like I know, like when the battery fails. I mean, it made me think the battery was dead. So, you know, sometimes these vans just choose not to work, okay? Just like we had this starting error the other day, it was not working. By the way, I'm actually wondering, will it actually work right now? So, sometimes the vans, they just don't work, okay? And next day or in 2 days, you're gonna come and they're gonna start working out of the blue for no reason. So I'm hoping that I'm wrong and this unit will work, and maybe like last time when I connected it, it made my van not work. It was just a bad day or something, because everything was done right, but it just was not working. And I do hope this one works, because that means I'll have another extra part for my other van. But either way, I have like 2 of these, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm gonna connect it right now, but before I do that, you know, I'm going to actually test it, see if it starts again. You know, I had to let it sit there with the battery being connected overnight. And yes, we have a start. So that is good. I'm just gonna let it work for a little bit before I disconnect it. Over here, as you can see, like on this unit here, you see how like all these plugins at the bottom? Well, this is the fuse panel that plugs into it, and possibly when this unit actually fails, it's, you know, something maybe like electricity will not travel back to the fuse panel or wherever else it needs to go, because it goes through this and then there's like a failed portion electronically in there somewhere, or maybe like a blown fuse if there is one, and then your vehicle will not start. But I still have this in my question. I mean, why would the van not start just because of this little thing? And I've heard both things. I also heard people saying that they had a start error and they replaced this and it worked. So that could also be. But I only seen this one time, and when everything was not starting, it made my heart drop, because I'm thinking, okay, I just, you know, installed this piece, and why is my van not starting? You know, because I thought this piece is like good. And then I kind of thought about it, you know, you gotta retrace your steps. What did you do before the van started and replaced? And that's what I did. I replaced this headlight, you know, because my hazard light was broken. It was kind of getting stuck, you know. This one doesn't, and this one doesn't from my other van. But I got it on stock, so I could actually reuse it. I have another one. That's the one that was being stuck. It's just kind of laying there, waiting for me to connect it. But anyways, I think this is enough for it to work. I just sort of wanted to let the van work, because it usually just takes a little bit for the batteries to get charged up back again. So we're going to turn it off. I'm going to pull the key out. I'm going to push it in. And now I'm going to disconnect this unit. There's only this wire right here to disconnect. And of course the bottom one. And that ought to be pretty easy. Usually there's a bolt that's holding these things down. This one right here that you would need to disconnect, but on that unit it's actually broken, you know, because sometimes those bolts like it twists over here, like right in between the plastic, and just causes that metal piece to break out of there. I would have had to happen on both of them, because somebody like tightens them up like so tight, and then it breaks. So I'm gonna stop this video, I'm gonna disconnect it, put this one in, and we'll see if it starts. I have just connected the unit. I decided not to plug this little wire in. That just controls the cruise control. So let's see if it starts. Okay. Wow, it did start. That's a good thing. So I'm not sure what has happened last time, you know, with this unit not starting. And also I want to test a couple other things. I'm going to turn on the lights, and I'm going to try to put the high beams on, and let's see if the high beams are working. Because my other unit that I have The high beams is not working. Looks like I'll be using this one instead. Okay, these vans, man, they could be really acting weird. This is really surprising. So I cut the hazard light off, and so they're off right now. So now what I want to do is I want to test all the hazard lights, and we're gonna see if they're gonna work. The hazard light is not flicking, so that is weird. That's not cool. I don't know why that is. So the turn signal is working. It is interesting. It is always something with these vans. So the turn signal is working, so we're going to turn another one on. Yep, this one is working. I really wonder why the headlight does not work. Looks like this portion of it is just not working. Another thing I want to kind of point out is this is where electronic ignition switch plugs in. As you could tell, mine's kind of cracked right there. I already had a problem out of this last time where it was it just came out. So I actually thought I did not install it properly, but I just noticed this little crack. So apparently it's just broken over there. So this is why, like, it just comes out. So I'm just gonna put another one. I'm gonna install like another one of these fuse panels. I'm gonna put my old hazard light in. What I want to do now is I'm going to bring another one, the one I used to have with the hazard light. It was kind of getting stuck. I'm going to bring that out, and I'm going to see if I could install it and see if that's actually going to work with the hazard light and everything. So I just popped this little unit out, and in case anybody's wondering how to pop one of these out if they're not broken, is what I've done is I press these two ends together, and it caused this thing's to come loose, and then I just very lightly use the tiny screwdriver to basically pop it off. The reason I'm doing this, the other one that I'm getting ready to install, that headlight thing is broken, so then some trash got in between here. You know, I'm not the only owner. I bought this van at 650,000 miles. It had a lot of things wrong with it. It was basically a mess, you know, and kind of is still, you know, behind the dash and stuff. So once I'm gonna actually before I reinstall everything, I'm going to actually clean everything up, sweep everything out of there, because it's just kind of dirty back there. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and grab another unit and install it. What I need to do now is, this is the unit that I'm getting ready to install, and I think this headlight thing might be working now. There's only one way to tell. It's kind of springing back. I'm not sure why. It should not be really springing back. It should actually just go in. I wanted to actually reinstall this little lever here. This is what's controlling your cruise control. It's just one simple bolt here. Then you slide it out, and you could just install it in here. Slide it back in and put a little bolt in there. That's what I'm gonna do. Before anything, I want to test this unit out and find out if it actually works, because this headlight thing is getting stuck. So at the very least, I want it to work if I do press it. And once again, we have turn windshield wipers on. So that started up just fine. So let's test the lights. Looks like the high beams are on. I'm gonna push it in again and check the high beams. They work. And I want to test the turn signals. So turn signal is working. And I'm going to test the other side. just don't want to have to install it and then the turn signals, they're not even working. That just would not be fun, because sometimes your turn signals will make your lights go off. Okay, if I hold down on a hazmat light, it's not working. That is kind of weird, because it should work and it's not working. So there's really no reason for me to actually use this part right now. I'm going to go ahead and install my old one and we'll see if the old one works. I've just reinstalled my old hazard light flasher. This is not the original one. The one that was original was this one that I just have removed. And as I was telling you guys before, that the hazard light was not working, and I thought maybe it was because it was stuck. So it's not working right now. I don't know why. So to make that proper test, I did not plug in the cruise control. As you can see, look, my this starting ignition starter has electronic ignition has fell out of there because it's got a broken connector. I'm gonna connect it back, but as I was saying, I am not connecting the cruise control just in case it's not it's causing the hazmat light to malfunction. You know, I don't see why it would, but just in case, because on all the other tests it was not plugged in. So we'll see if it's working or not right after I plug that electronic ignition back in. Okay, it is now plugged in, time for start. Okay, it has started. Let's see if the hazmat light would work. It is definitely working. The only thing that I could think of, what I would like to check for this headlight situation, there is no lamp here. Could it be that if there is no lamp, it's going to cause that unit not to work? So that's going to be my next test. I'm gonna remove the light bulb from another one and find out, you know, like why it's not working. But at the same time, since that other one didn't work, maybe the light bulb is burned out and this is why it's not working. But I don't see why it should cause it not to work with the lamp being burned out, because I mean, it might not flash, but it should at least turn your hazmat lights on. The only problem I have with this one is if you turn on high beams, you only have to pull it for them to turn on, but when you push it, they don't come on. So I kind of don't like that, because you know, there's situations where you have to turn the high beams on and you know, it's just they just don't work. So I may end up having to not really use the hazmat light thing and just, I don't know, just install one with working high beams. I just think that's more important. I'll just end up, you know, like flashing at least, you know, my turn signals or something in a headlight situation. But I'm gonna try to install this little light and we're gonna see if that's going to work. I'm gonna leave the van running for now. So what I have decided to do is I'm going to use this headlight thing here. I already actually installed my cruise control here. The hazard light does not work on this one. It does get, like, you know, stuck like it's supposed to, but for some reason they don't flash. But I'll install this because it's got, you know, working high beams. But I'll keep the other one on hand, you know, just in case. The reason I have chose this unit as well is because it's this bolt piece is not broken like it is on this one, and when I actually install the fuse panel, I could actually have it nice and tight, and you know, any vibration will not, you know, cause it to come loose. But you could tell on this one here, as I was removing it, it was already stripped, and the bolt just rotates and rotates in there, so that was not fun. So what I'm gonna also do is go ahead and replace this fuse panel here. I have another one right here. This is my old fuse panel. It was always working, and in order to remove the fuse panel, the way it's actually being connected right now, in case you're wondering, is through this little bolt right here. I have the power going to that, and that's just the way it attaches. And then it just plugs in into the this box right here, like that, and then everything works. So I'm gonna go ahead and start putting everything back. First I'm gonna try to install this computer back. That's the most difficult part. I have installed the computer and I slide it in over there. You gotta aim high because there's these two pins. It needs to go right below it. As you can tell, I'm losing my breath a little bit because like it feels like it's not supposed to really go in there. It's very tight, and you're supposed to just squeeze it in there, and then those two pins, they grab it. Because if you're gonna install it lower here, it's gonna feel like it's supposed to go there, but it's not. You'll actually have this thing falling out on you. It's gonna feel like it's in the right place, but it's not. You're just gonna have to feel it. It's gonna be like really tight. Like you can't, get this thing, loose. Like right now, it's in place. It's not actually gonna come out on you. Because I did it like that one time. It felt like that's the right way to do it. And I installed it for the first time, and it was just causing my computer to fall out every time I hit a bump. And that was not fun. So I had to pull over and fix it. Yeah, so next I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect all this stuff here, and I'll be reconnecting the other fuse panel and stuff. And I'm not actually removing the battery for this. I know it's best to remove the battery, but the only time I'm going to actually, not remove the battery, disconnect the battery. The only time I'm going to actually disconnect the battery is when I'm going to be messing with the actual airbag. So, if you guys want to disconnect it when you put it together, that's the right way to do it. The only thing I'm not going to disconnect it, I'm being superstitious, because last time I disconnected everything and connected everything back, it did not work. It could have been a loose connection on the battery terminal. Sometimes the positive cable connection could be a little bit funny on your battery underneath the hood, because it seems like everything's like really tight, but it just needs to be just a tad more tighter, and then it's gonna work. It's just sometimes it's just weird like that. So if you guys have like starting problems, and it's not working, just go to the positive terminal, undo the bolt completely, just kind of like, just so you could actually retighten it back up and put everything back like the way it's supposed to be, and put it nice and tight. Do not over tighten it, because you're gonna end up stripping a bolt, but put it nice and tight there, to where you're gonna feel like if you're gonna spin anymore, you're gonna strip it, because you gotta have your feel a little bit. So if you do that, then it should start, and also check your negative battery terminal as well. So yeah, that's what I want to do. And I also want to show you, I added a second wire for the negative cable, just in case the negative ground is bad. And I know in some comments I've heard that some people they're wondering how they could replace the main negative cable that goes to the motor mount. My solution to that is don't replace it. Just add yourself a second wire. I'm going to show you how I did it. This is what I did. Here's a negative cable right here. This is not original, okay? As you can tell, this is something I have added. I have a 1500 watt power inverter, and I just took the black wire from that. You could use any type of wire. It doesn't have to be black. And I ran it down the bottom there and to the side, and it goes right to the engine. This is right here, as you could tell. You could put it anywhere in the engine, but I kind of feel that that's a good place to put it. It could be an aluminum part, just in case if somebody is wondering. I'm pretty sure most of you guys know it, but for the people that might be wondering if aluminum will actually be a good contact, as you know, some of the old houses, they used to use aluminum wiring. It's actually a pretty good conductor. They're just not very safe wires, for the old houses and stuff, because aluminum does corrode. So yes, you could put on aluminum. As a matter of fact, that's the way your transmission, the alternator is mounted too. It's sort of mounted to the aluminum as well, to the engine. This is why everything's working. So instead of replacing that, let's see if I could get a good shot here. There's a motor mount here at the bottom. Yes, you see that bolt right there? That's the negative cable that's going to your engine motor mount, and that's the way your engine gets its negative from. So my wire has never been replaced. I have like 1,050,000 miles on this thing. It's 1,049,000, but rounding it off here, doesn't really matter. Close enough. So my wires are pretty old, except my positive wires, those are about brand new, that go for the start and everything, because I had a problem over here. Somebody, was testing these wires before I bought the van, and they basically cut into all the wires, and they were basically becoming no good. Like, they started to corrode, so that could cause a lot of problems in the future. As you can tell, my engine's this dirty here. I am not some guy that likes to keep an engine dirty like this, but I am superstitious. If you wash the engine, it might not start. I'm only superstitious about like some of this stuff when it comes to, you know, vans, because this van has like a lot of sensors, a lot less sensors than the newer engines, okay? But any of these sensors, if they're like, if they got like wet, like water on them, you know, they're gonna cause your van not to start. So I'd rather keep it dirty like this than have an engine that's not starting, and I want to make sure just that, you know, that it works. I mean, I know I have like some other problems here, like I don't understand like what's causing all this oil leakage here. Looks like my temperature sensor that's going inside of the pipe is kind of oily, so I'm not sure if it's somehow, you know, there's some oil inside of there and it might be squirting out of there, causing it to be dirty. But at the same time, this is where the cables travel from the power steering fluid, so one of those might be spitting, you know, some of those fluids. So who knows, and it might be just this dirty, but it's not important right now. It's not a big issue. I'm not losing you know, like much oil at all on my engine. So anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get to the fixing of this problem here. I'm gonna start, you know, put everything back together. I'm gonna sweep it out of here and start removing everything. What I'm gonna, you know, get ready to do is, and this is pretty simple. I'm going to, well, actually, I'm going to need to disconnect the negative cable. I was telling you guys I'm not gonna do it, but I will do it, and I'm gonna tell you why. There's a positive feed that goes over here. See that red wire? That red wire is actually goes here. And if I'm not going to disconnect it, it might cause some sparks, and I don't want to shorten anything out. So in case some of you guys were wondering, I'm crazy for not disconnecting it. Well, not that crazy. I gotta think sometimes as well. I just don't want to have to disconnect and it's not gonna work. The only one I'm not gonna touch is the positive cable. And last time, what's weird is I didn't touch the positive cable and I only touched the negative one. And no matter what I did, the van would not start. And I'm going to be basically using the same type of hazmat thing here. But ever since I removed it, I actually cleaned all the connectors. The connectors are looking pretty good, so maybe it was a bad connection, you know, who knows. But I'm going to use that piece, and I'm going to use this here, this fuse panel. A lot of times these fuse panels could just cause you guys a bunch of problems. In case some of you guys don't know this, you're just watching this video for the first time. If you lay it like this, it actually duplicates the way it's laying over here. This is where your electronic starter plugs in. Of course you guys know that. Plugs in over here. So last time it became unplugged on me, and of course it just came loose a little bit because there's a crack here. And basically I guess maybe some vibrations cause it to actually slip out of there. And of course on the road when you're driving there's a lot of bumps. So then it was all fine, but like a week later it started causing like these problems. I would run over a bump and then all of a sudden on my speedometer all the lights come on. They just like start flickering and I getting these beeping sounds like I just started my engine, like beep 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 beep, you know. So it was doing that, and if I was basically driving, let's say like about like 15 miles per hour, you know, and I hit a bump, or just my van would like rock a little bit just because of uneven surface on terrain, it would cause my van to shut off. And then it looks kind of like weird, like why did it just, you know, die, you know, and then it just starts normally, like it's no problem, it starts right up. So this is why, like, it's kind of strange, you know, and I have to wonder, maybe, you know, it rocked itself out of there completely, and then it was enough for the van not to start. Could that be my problem? Could that be why I'm getting a starter error? You know, because once I unplugged everything, you know, like, and plugged everything back up, everything's working again. But could it be that the wire rocked itself out of there, you know, enough to where, you know, it's still going to get the signal, but it's going to sometimes cause the engine not to start? But I'm going to lean on two problems, what was happening. You know, discounting the fact that the key might have been, you know, not receiving the signal to the ring and stuff. I think all that's fine. But I'm thinking possibly this tumbler here, you know, I call it tumbler. It's you know, ignition switch, or, you know, sometimes, you know, they refer to these things as, you know, tumbler, because you put the key in there and, you know, it starts everything, because you also got an electronic ignition that goes over there. So it could have been that this thing fails, you know, like when you actually turn your key, it does not actually turn it all the way and causing your van not to start. Oh, I got an idea. Let's test something. Look, I don't have no turn signals connected. All we have connected is the electronic things here. This would rule out the possibility if this thing is bad, the van would not start. So you guys ready for this? Let's check it out. Look at that, started right up. And now I'm kind of feeling kind of stupid, but at the same time, I'm feeling, you know, that's a pretty cool test because this allows me to learn, this allows you guys to learn, because I did not know the van would actually start with this thing, because last time, as I was telling you guys, all I've done is replace this piece. That's all I replaced. It caused my van completely not to start. Isn't that weird? And then I'm kind of thinking, well, why would that be? Yes, there is some electronic stuff that goes here, but you know, this kind of tells me this is to control the lights, you know, all your, you know, switches and stuff on here. That explains it, but it does not explain, you know, why the, you know, van would not start. Why does it act dead? You know, that's what's weird. I mean, could it be that last time when I plugged everything up, I also did not plug in the electronic ignition good, or I plugged it in and then it came loose? You know, so all those things could be like such a simple problem, but yet because of such a major headache. And you know, if I was to take it to the dealer, oh, it doesn't start. Yeah, you know what the dealer's gonna do? They're gonna take all the stuff apart. They're gonna diagnose it first. They're gonna diagnose it, charge you $100 diagnostic fee, or $150 once they plug it up. And then of course, it's going to give you a bunch of codes. You know, like yesterday I was showing you guys I had about 6 codes, and the time before that on the video I had 11 codes for the no start issue. Oh, guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna replace all those sensors that it says on there to replace. I mean, I had a speed sensor, I had a crankshaft position sensor, and mass airflow sensor, lost communication with TCM. You know, all those things on there, you know, and dealer will gladly replace all those parts for you because it says that there's no communication with them. So they're going to try to either replace it, but if it's a good dealer and they're not trying to rip you off, they're not going to replace that, but they're going to test some of the things that common failures. But you know, a lot of times, you know, it all depends not on the dealership, it's on actual staff that works back there. If you got a mechanic that works back there and you know he's kind of lazy, and he just doesn't want to really find out what the problem is, he does not care if you're going to be spending all this money replacing all this extra stuff, you know, and it's going to cost a lot of money to do it. So anyways, in this situation, like the dealer would replace all the stuff, then of course they're going to plug everything back up, and guess what, it's going to work. They're going to tell you they fixed it. You're going to be a happy little guy leaving the dealership, $1,000 less, you know, richer, or $4,000 less richer, as I've seen some people spend $4,600 for the starting error, you know. But it does start, so that's cool. So that means if any major failure happens, do replace your fuse panel. Okay, that's probably going to be the most cheapest thing. But before you actually replace it, make sure everything's plugged in all the way. You know, unplug all of these things, replug them back up, try to start your van up. It's pretty simple taking the stuff apart. All you need is a Phillips head screwdriver, and you're gonna need this screwdriver that your van came with. It's going to be like in your kit, a little black screwdriver. That's trying to locate right now. Let's see here. I did not bring it here. Screwdriver right here. This is what I'm talking about. So all you need is this. You're gonna need a Phillips head. You're gonna need a short one like this, because this is to get some of the very tiny bolts up top whenever you're getting ready to remove these plastics here. You're gonna need that, and then you're going to need something longer, like, see here, like some tiny ones like this. And some of these are extra that I brought here because I was doing various little things. Yeah, of course you're gonna need a number 10. But some of these tools are very basic, okay? This is not very sophisticated tools, except for this little thing. If you got this little guy, oh, you're nuts. Because this is long, you know, it's going to reach any of those tight spots for you, and a lot of these bolts that you're disconnecting will either take that little tip or that one, and you could reverse it. And also, like in your kit where the jack is for the vehicle, it has the Phillips head screwdriver in there too, so you could just plug that in and it's going to work as well for you. So anyways, I'm gonna start sweeping it out and cleaning it back up. The only thing I'm going to do last is this little computer here. I'm gonna install it last, just in case it's gonna cause me some problems. I'll disconnect it and I'm going to reconnect everything. So here we go. Step one, putting everything together. We'll need to disconnect the negative piece. It is pretty important to disconnect it, regardless of what I try to do. Sometimes I try to skip these little steps, but when it comes to putting all those electronics together, you can fry it out by not actually removing it. So it is important because those parts are expensive. So that is disconnected now. Now we're gonna actually start removing this little thing here. I already swept it out and that's what I'm gonna remove. I have been painting some of my parts black on the Sprinter. All the newer models, they look black. I do like the black look better, plus my van is black. So what I'm gonna try to show you guys is what I'm gonna do to paint this van black. I have some self-etching primer. That's from Harbor Freight, and this one I got a while ago. This is basically like this color here is actually for painting like interior, like plastics and stuff. So this is the black color here. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some self-etching primer, let it dry while I'm putting things back together there, and then coat it with some black, and then I'll have a nice looking piece there. And next time I'm going to actually paint the whole dashboard black and then remove it and replace it already. But right now I'm not going to be removing my dashboard. I did it in one of the videos, removed the one that I needed from the other van. I might actually spray it today, you know, we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I'm spraying it with some primer here. Okay, that's a good coat. I'm gonna let this dry. I'm gonna go start putting everything back together. First things first, all I have done is I have went ahead and replaced all the wiring and stuff. Well, the actual fuse panel I have replaced, and I plugged in all the wiring and stuff, and I made sure that all the things that are plugged up, that can be plugged up, are plugged up. And I've just installed this very first top piece. I have not actually put any bolts. You could actually lift it up and put it in. You can actually feel if it's on there the right way or not. Okay, now it is. You just install that, plug the bolt in, and then you're gonna have to mess with this stuff. This is what goes next. It's going to go from that other side, so I'll need to actually bring this wire on the other side, but it's gonna go like this, and then this little piece is going to go over top of that. Those are a bit tricky. You gotta remember to always put it down, sticker down first, otherwise it's not gonna fit properly because the way the grooves are cut away over here, and it's just not gonna fit. So I'm gonna go ahead and do those. So I'm gonna put the bolts in here. The bolts are at the bottom here. The very first one you could already see. Once you align it there, you could kind of see them right there. Those two bolts you're gonna need to add. This piece is very simple to replace. I mean, I've heard people say, oh, that's like so difficult. I've heard some guy, he's a mechanic, he's, oh, that's a pain to replace. No, it's not. It's two bolts. That's all it is. Two bolts in the steering wheel, two bolts in this thing, two bolts in that. You know, and then you got all the plastics. You got two bolts in that plastic, two bolts in that one, and then you'll have like one, you know, like two at the bottom. And it's a very, very easy piece. So, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and install the rest of it. I have installed the bolts in case anybody wants to wonder what kind they are. They are those silver Phillips head bolts. So next, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go ahead and install this here, you know, keep it from hanging. And now that I could actually plug it in to that little section and install that bolt. So that's next. It doesn't matter how you do it, but I already went ahead and popped that piece on there the way it's supposed to go. That little black piece that I told you with the sticker upside down, and I put this thing on it. They are hard to aim. This is why I went ahead and aimed them. It is not completely installed. I still need to put the bolts in there. And the reason I kind of done that, because this little bolt, it needs to go, I mean, this wiring, it's supposed to kind of go like that. You see, like right around it, and that's going to go over top. And to actually install this piece, you just cannot pop it in there. As you feel, you'll need to start actually twisting the bolt. It's not going to go into the holes unless you start tightening it up, and it's going to push it back in there. The bottom bolt has not been installed yet. You don't want to do this very hard. This is enough for it. And then of course those things are like that. And then this positive one, it's not installed yet. And of course we have that one to worry about. It was not even in the hole, and it still went in. We're just gonna check this one more time, make sure. Yep. So that did not affect anything. So now we need to put a 10mm type of bolt. One of these I'm going to put here at the bottom. See here? Yeah, right there. Sorry if it's getting out of focus. When things get a little bit too close, it's trying to do macro and it's not set in that mode. What makes it easier to do this is, and I have this in my kit, I have this screwdriver that's got a hand, just like this little wrench here, and then you put it in as simple as a bolt. You just put a socket on there, and that's that. Because when you're first starting to put it in, it's just, there's no friction. It's kind of difficult. There's no space in there to really work. And then that positive cable is always getting in my way. But I kind of wanted to show it to you guys because I know, you know, for some of you this is going to be like a piece of cake, but then some of this stuff could scare some people into doing it themselves. Like a lot of times they tell you only the dealer could do it. If you kind of think about it, who works at the dealer? People. And some of them got training, pretty much all of them got training, but they're just people. So if you get the training, and this is kind of like a little class, if you get the training, then you can do it too. The best way to learn is by doing. It's not by sitting in class and learning from the book. If you do it, then you know how to do it. So that little portion is installed. I mean, we are that much closer, you know, to installing everything else. So now we need to make sure that we're not going to forget some steps. So this is on here. Now next is I need to actually put those bolts in. Sometimes if you install this piece the wrong way, and guys, when you take it apart, just make sure, you know, you're really not going to move it too much. Maybe even put a piece of tape over it, unless you're really good at aiming, you know. Because if this thing's not going to align properly, then it's going to be so difficult to install this thing, because you also have to put this right through the steering wheel. That needs to perfectly go through there. The wiring needs to be in there. This wiring does not remove. You have to put all that stuff through the hole, and that stuff does not align. And sometimes it's okay if these things like this plastic moves on top. Sometimes these pieces, they actually don't align good, and if they do align, most likely then you cannot put the bolts in, or something's not going to work. So like that becomes difficult. Last time when I was doing it, I could not align it. This time I'm doing it, I did align it, because I thought maybe it was a design flaw that they did it like that. Because when I actually removed the unit, why can't I go through it? Okay, I actually had to use the screwdriver to go through the side. And like right now, it seems like same thing's kind of happening. But basically, the holes were not aligning perfectly, so I had to do it through the side. And I kind of thought, you know, maybe when they were designing it, because of all these little twists and turns and stuff, it was not going to, you know, work perfectly. And when it did actually align, it just would not work at all. But definitely, it's going to be kind of bad if you actually twist that little black piece around with the sticker showing up. It's not going to fit properly. That's why that's important. It's not actually going to even sink all the way down the black portion. And those screws are kind of long, so we got that one tight enough. I know this video is kind of getting long. I'm doing many different things, and I don't think I would mind if the video be long if it's something helpful. And I believe in this case it is helpful. I'd rather give you guys enough information than not enough. You know, so now we're gonna actually pop the steering wheel back on there. So we got all this stuff working good. But before I actually pop any of those things on there, you know, I'm gonna go ahead and connect the battery cable. Oh yeah, I'm gonna connect that red cable there. I'm gonna connect it, and I'm gonna try to see if everything's gonna start. You know, and every time, you know, when you do this kind of stuff, it's like, you know, you got your fingers crossed. Will it work? Will it not work? Because if all that stuff is good, then once I install everything else, it's going to be fine. So I'm gonna stop the video, connect this red wire here, and the way you do it is you need to pop this thing back and then install it, and then I'm gonna do the rest of it. I'm gonna install the battery and then you know, the negative cable in the battery anyways. And then we're gonna put the steering wheel back, and then I'm actually gonna, well, once I test it and everything works, I'm gonna actually disconnect the negative cable again. I know it's like too many steps, and then we'll need to install the steering wheel and then the airbag, because you don't want to have to install the airbag with the battery being on. It might explode on you, and that could be deadly. I mean deadly. You don't ever want to plug in your airbag with the battery being attached. The battery terminal is plugged up. The red wire is plugged up, and all it is like a little latch here. So you just close it so you don't ever touch it, and you need to kind of put it to the side like that, the wire. Well, you cannot really put it any other way. So let's start this. Yes, it's working. Good. Good. Of course, we still have an issue with the hazmat light. You know, but it's okay, as long as, let's see, everything's working. Feels like this is not cool. Maybe the high beams are not working. Wait a minute, of course they're not gonna work. I don't have my lights on. So we're gonna pop that back, turn on the lights. Yes, I turn on the lights, and the high beams are working. Oh yeah, guys, one little trick. As you can tell, I have high beams running, I have regular lights underneath, and I have this bluish type of light. That's a parking light inside. I recommend you guys actually install those things in there. Some of these vans, they either have one that's burnt out, and you know, usually they're kind of like the same ones that's on the side there, and you know, it's just not cool. You know, they're burnt out and it's not working. The reason you would want to actually install those things there is the parking lights inside of your lights, because if one of your headlights burns out, at least you're gonna have a parking light working. And always do your little walk around, and you want to make sure that all that's working. You know what is interesting? I think, let's see here, turn the hazmat light on. It's not blinking anywhere. But I want to see if I'm going to use a turn signal, if that causes it to malfunction. Yes, it is causing it to malfunction. It is just, with the hazmat lights, they're just not even working. It causes them just to be weird like that. They're just on. It causes your turn signals not to work. So right now it's flashing. Once you turn it on, it stops flashing. And then to reset it, you need to actually put it back on there. So I got that other side to blink. Okay, blinking, good. And I actually got some LED lights in the back. I'm not gonna say that they're the best to use. I already had one went out on me, so $15 for 2 LEDs if you don't get them from eBay. And then they burn out. Okay, sorry for all this walking. You know, it's a walk around after all, but okay, so I'm gonna twist that off. I just want to test, make sure these things are working. Okay, so my windshield wiper works, that stuff works. Okay, so now we'll just turn it off. I don't actually need to put the key in this time, and we're gonna disconnect the ground. I don't want to forget to disconnect it. Yeah, these things are kind of difficult to remove sometimes. I always stick them right there where that wire is. We are ready for the steering wheel. And the steering wheel takes this bolt right here. That bolt goes in the center there. First we're going to need to put all the wires right through. Okay guys, before actually installing the steering wheel, you'll need to run all your wiring right through. I basically like to first put the airbag light, the airbag wire first, because it needs the most room. Put that in first, and then put these wires in there. So now I'm gonna actually attach the steering wheel. Steering wheel's on there. It does take a 10mm Allen wrench, and mine's already on there. This is what I actually use to remove it. I got more sophisticated tools, but you know, I want to do this job with the basic tools. Like, you know, if you got a 10mm Allen wrench, you should be able to remove your steering wheel, you know, and without no special things involved. I believe this is a good set that I got. Maybe it's not. Probably something I got like out of Home Depot. But I always like to buy the very best tools, because I have noticed if I buy the cheap stuff, it basically causes them to break sooner, and some of this good stuff has a lifetime warranty. So I put that bolt on there tight. I'm gonna try to pause the camera and just make sure it's tight enough. It just needed to be a tad more tighter. And then, if you forgot what color wire goes where, I really don't think it really matters, but this yellow one goes on this side, and make sure guys you're having it face the right way, and by the connector being like that, because if it's not, then you won't be able to pull it out. There's these little tabs there, you know, you'll have to actually push on it in order to pull it out. So you could still pull it out, you know, but you know, you might end up breaking something. This little copper portion needs to be like that. Goes right there. So we're actually gonna take the airbag light and stick it on the side. So at this point, we don't have no battery connected. Just so you guys know, it is disconnected. Of course, you could pull the fuse, you know, to do it under the seat. I think it's like number 10 fuse. I'm not sure exactly. I never pulled the fuse, even though it's the same as disconnected battery. I guess I'm just a little bit old-fashioned, and I want to make sure it's disconnected. You know, I don't want to guess. Okay. So we're going to now install the airbag. For some people, this might be scary. Others, just another day in the shop. So basically, you see those little 2 pins there. You could just connect it whichever way. It doesn't matter. Like whatever feels more natural for the wiring. In this case, it would be like that, because the wire is sort of like wants to lean that way. And then put that in like this, and you'll of course need to aim. There's these little screws there right behind. See those little screws there? So you'll need to actually drop it in to where these little metal pieces land inside. In this case, it's just very simple. You know, it's not that difficult. They land in there, and those screws take this screwdriver. So you'll need to put that in there and install it like this. But I'll need to actually turn the camera off in order to install it, because it's trying to push out of there as I'm trying to spin it. So the steering wheel is installed. All we have is just pretty much some plastic that goes around. And the very first plastic we're going to be installing this one. But you know, I also want to make sure I install this one in first. But before I install anything, everything is now connected besides the battery. So we're gonna connect the battery, and we're gonna do another test. So that's what I'm gonna do. The negative cable is now connected. I do want to get back to this wire here that I installed at the firewall. This is a second negative wire. Anything from like a wire thickness like from a 1500 watt inverter would work, or you could buy one. but just make sure it's kind of thick. I do recommend you guys install this because your van sometimes will not start due to proper voltage. Either the starter will not spin, you know, or the van, especially if that ground cable becomes kind of worn. And also you may, you know, like not have to replace that wire. But if you do have some issues, do replace it. It's like a $10 wire from Mercedes. I installed it. I think it's actually cuts down on the problems, you know, from happening, from starting issues anyways. Okay, it's time to start it. Okay, it started. That does make me feel good. The SRS light is on. Why is it on? It's not supposed to be on. The airbag is installed, so that may end up, you know, going off. So that is weird that it's on. You know, my horn was never working as good. Now it's deciding to work, so I don't know, it's kind of weird. Sometimes things, you know, just start working, you know, on this one. Like, this horn would not work for like a couple years, I'm serious. And last time when I installed it, it worked a little bit. It seemed like it was just kind of getting stuck, like not enough voltage. I thought maybe it's a bad horn, but you know, it's working now. And I used to have to like press it with like 2 hands because it was just like really weird like that, you know. So anyways, that's working. I'm gonna go ahead and cut the van. Well, actually, I'm gonna let it work while I actually install all these other things because it's not that important. So I'm gonna pop the computer back in place, and that is really popping it back in place, you know, by putting the speedometer back. See how it like it goes back, and then first I'll have to put the speedometer bolts back. So that's next. Okay, this is the Immobilizer. It's funny how it's passed. So it is installed, you know, all of these other wires are installed, and you just have to like press this one in first and then press this one in, and just really press it in. There's like no bolts that goes there. So now we just need to push the speedometer back and align that with holes, and it's simple as putting those bolts back. The speedometer is properly installed. That is not going anywhere. I wanted to share another little thing with you, just in case you are having trouble with starting your van, okay? This ignition tumbler, sometimes they fail, and what happens is you cannot actually twist it all the way and it will not start. That would be kind of like expensive because I believe the dealer has to do it. As I was telling you guys in another video, I tried to buy one of those things. Well, I didn't try to buy it. The dealer thought I was trying to buy it, and all I was trying to get is an electronic ignition switch. They told me they could not sell me this thing. Maybe if you're a shop, they'll probably sell it to you because you're a shop. But I'm not a shop, so you know. So basically, what I want to say is, when you disconnect your fuse panel here, disconnect the wire that's going through your electronic ignition to the actual tumbler. Just remove it from there. You'll have to unsnap it. Like, it snaps in like with those little snaps there, and they're really hard to get, but I'm going to show you what I use to actually unsnap it. But bring that little electronic ignition part that you twist with the screwdriver back over here, so you could actually install all your plastics, everything. You'll be able to insert your key, and you could actually start it with a screwdriver outside of the actual tumbler. So, you know, this also helps. If you broke your key, this is a way for you to start it, you know. As long as you have the key somewhere near the tumbler, like you have to have like somewhere near. You could even tape it down there. You could probably throw it on top of your dashboard over there, you know. As long as you have the key there, you can start the van with the actual screwdriver. So, you know, I've seen friends, the dealer side, you know, it's gonna be like $500 for them to actually wait for this part to come in because they got an order from Germany and some stuff like that, you know. So I need to actually tell this to one of my friends. He has drivers, and sometimes they break their keys, and this is a way to start it. You just start it with a screwdriver. As long as you could have any kind of key, and a Home Depot could cut you a regular key. I don't know how many dollars, but it's not gonna have it's not gonna have a chip, so you could at least have that key to open up your doors and start your van with a screwdriver. As long as you have your old plastic key, you know, with the broken key or whatever, it's still gonna start. So that's a good trick, okay? So guys, don't forget that. So we're gonna go check on the piece that I've been painting. This is my speedometer piece. This goes on top of the speedometer. And we're just gonna paint it black. This is a flexible type of paint. The one that's used for painting, you know, these type of parts. Sorry if I'm not really aiming this thing that good. So by the time I get ready to install this piece, it's going to be already dry. But I really don't need it to have the van going. I think I'm putting a little bit too much. So I'll leave that side alone. Put some here. I just think it looks nicer in black, personally. Probably tomorrow I'll get another one painted, an actual dash. I'll paint that portion black. I showed you how to remove it in the last video. So if you do remove it, then of course it's going to be pretty easy to spray. And now, of course, one of the bugs got in it. Okay, so it's got pretty good coverage right now. I'll leave it alone. I do want to paint this piece black as well. I already have it removed, so I will go ahead and paint it. If you want to buy this piece new for your van, because a lot of times they have broken. All of my vans have these things broken. I didn't break none of them. You could just basically get it from eBay. I've seen them for like $80 to $100. You could get this and that other piece over there for around $180. If somebody cares about these things not being broken, then you could spend that extra closer to $100 and get it. I think I will, you know. I want those things to be nice. But also I was thinking about doing something else. I may end up customizing this and go ahead and, you know, grind all these pieces out of here, and I may like do like some kind of like a round thing, just like Audi TTs have. I might do something like that, you know, so who knows. But I will just paint this piece like it is. And to paint it, you'll need to remove this little electronic piece so you don't actually paint it by pressing those little knobs in, and then you'll have to push it out, I believe. Yeah. It's always a lot more harder trying to do it with one hand, but I managed to do it. So this is the piece that actually controls how high the lights are. So I'm just gonna set it in one of my cup holders and I'll go paint this piece. This is the piece I wanna prime first with self-itching primer. The best way to do it actually is by just walking around as you're doing it. Get it nicely inside. You know, I think some of us really like our sprinters, like I do. Some people might not believe that, but the reason I like these sprinters is for, you know, they're nice and economical sprinters. And I kind of like the plastic look. If you kind of look at the Mercedes G-Wagon, you know, that SUV, it's really boxy and ugly, but it costs more money. Same thing with these sprinters. They're kind of ugly, but you know, they kind of look pretty cool, you know, if you could actually, you know, like make it look nice and stuff. So that's enough. That's enough coverage there. So probably waste a primer for a piece that I'll be most likely not using later on, because I'll either buy a brand new thing or I might just, you know, customize it, because spending $200 or $180 just so I could get working things there, I don't know. I'd rather make it like into a project and just use something that already works and, you know, stick it in there, like round ones or something from Audi TT, because they already have this nice portion. It just sticks in there. All you have to do is just make a nice round hole and maybe use some fiberglass, you know, to put it in there and stuff. I think it's manageable, you know. You could just do that. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to install this piece here. As you can see, this is black. I painted it before and it looks kind of good. It's that flexible paint. I'll go ahead and install it. Oh yeah, I have to cut the van out first. The black plastic cover piece is installed, in case anybody's wondering. It takes long silver screws. You can see those right there. And then a 10mm for the bottom, right there. Now it's time for the top piece. It's also painted right here. So that piece is installed as well. It is kind of difficult to guide these little holes here. You'll just have to, you know, maybe remove it and see if it's going in properly, because it's just a plastic that it's screwing into. And sometimes you could miss the hole, so that could be a little bit challenging. But the way I actually end up doing it, I end up pushing this portion back and the windshield washer portion back, and you know, it actually helps me snap it into place a lot easier. So we have just a fuse panel cover. We need to snap that in there. If you could see, like, you know, you be the judge, but the black kind of looks a lot better. Of course, I kind of got it sketched up. So I guess after a while it actually gets sketched up, and it might actually not look so good after a while. But I do like the black, and it's got so many miles on here, you know, I'm ready for a change. But I'm gonna go ahead and go paint the other piece. But before I do, I'm gonna start this van up again. I want to make sure everything's starting, make sure that the batteries are charging. It starts right up. It's really nicely. And the SRS light comes back. Why? That is really weird. I know everything's plugged in perfectly. And it works. So I'll let the thing run. Yeah, do not pay attention about when this thing is serviced. These things are kind of hard to reset. There's a whole ignition sequence that you gotta do every time you do an oil change. I never bother with that. I just write my miles down and I go from there. Basically, I just recently fueled up. Forgot to actually knock that cage back. But basically, see, 48,975. But it's actually 1,048,975. So here we go. I'm gonna paint that other piece that goes around over here for the vents. Okay, here we go. Kind of hard to get the bottom coverage. It needs to be just slightly raised. Well, I'll have to kind of paint it at the side here. So easy to do overspray if you're gonna put on the side, but it covers it really good. Pretty good. I think before they went into gray, everything was black. And maybe it was a good time for them to change to gray, and gray looks pretty good. But since all the new vehicles is black, I think black is, well, I think black has always been a good color, an elegant color. There you go, just paint the bottoms. It's just easy to scratch this. You know, the plastics, when they stay gray, you're not pretty much gonna scratch them. If you do, no paint's gonna come off, and it's probably a good idea that they done it like that. But I have like a bunch of extra parts. If I don't ever like it, I could just buy a new one. But I know that I'm gonna be actually redoing that other one, so it's good to see before I actually end up painting it gray, that I mean black, that, you know, it looks good, and I do like it. So, but I think pretty much done here. You know what I've been trying to do. I do need to go for a test drive. I'm gonna put the tools back and I'm gonna try to take it for a spin. Let it stop dry.